Let's start with respiratory system. As the name indicates, the respiratory system we are talking about, it is something related to your nasal cavity, related to your lungs, and the whole process and body is all about the delivery of oxygen to the rest of the body parts. Okay. So the respiratory system is a set of organs that allows the person to breathe or exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide to the body. So how this happens, how the body takes oxygen from the external environment and then releases the carbon dioxide to the external environment in order to make the balance of oxygen at every cell or tissue level. Okay. So this whole process and the system that is involved into the exchange mechanism of oxygen and carbon dioxide from internal to external environment is your respiratory system. Okay. So it is an integral system of organs that involves intake and exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the body and the environment, includes nasal passage, larynx, trachea, bronchial tubules, and your lungs. Okay. So these are the major organs which will be involved into whole this process of respiratory system. So respiratory system performs two major tasks. One is your external respiration, another is your internal respiration. As name indicate, external respiration means it is taking at that level where either we are taking oxygen from the environment or releasing carbon dioxide to the environment. Internal respiration is where you can process where providing or taking the carbon dioxide from tissue, collecting the carbon dioxide from tissue or cell. Okay, so that is your internal. So whatever the process during the respiration is taking inside the body is a part of internal respiration, and whatever is taken outside the body is a part of your external respiration. Okay, so you can see, as I already discussed, the nose is one of the major parts in case. After that, your trachea. Then we have bronchial tubules, lungs, and diaphragm. These are the major things which we can see the movement or changes into these organs when I'm talking about respiratory system or respiration process. Okay, so major changes will be taking at these levels. Now, what is the function of respiratory system? So basically, it supplies oxygen to the body and disposes carbon dioxide from body. Then filters the inspired air. Whatever the air we are taking from outside source, it filters that particular air also. Then next is it produces the sound.
The sound.
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
So
So,
produces a sound and contains the receptors for smell. Smell, you basically see your nose is involved in smelling functioning. So, what is that organ? Your olfactory system, if I talk about smell, is a whole process related to your olfactory system. Okay, the rich the body some excess water and heats. Okay, so where whatever the excess heat is produced into the body, you can see when you expire the air, when you feel that air, it will be little bit warm. So again, it play important role into the maintenance of body temperature. Okay, and then regulates the blood pH. And this is a very important key. It regulates the blood pH. Okay. So breathing consists of, if I talk about at pulmonary level, it is consists of two cyclic phases, two things. One is your inhalation, another is your exhalation. Inhalation is also called inspiration, means it takes the gases into the lungs. Okay. And exhalation also called expiration, the gases out of the lungs. Okay, so as named, inhale means we are taking something inside the body. That is your inhalation. Okay, exhalation as exiting something outside the body. So what we are exiting? Basically, we are mostly exiting the carbon dioxide from the body. So out of the lung, what we are giving? Your carbon dioxide. Okay, so This is your major breathing process. Okay, external respiration. Air from outside environment enters the nose or mouth during the inspiration or inhalation. Composed of nose, nasal cavity, paranasal sinuses, pharynx, and larynx. All parts of conducting portion of respiratory system. So this will include your respiratory system. So basically, your nostrils. Sometimes those who are not in case of coughing or something, if you're not able to take appropriate amount of oxygen or air from the nose, so you become a mouth breather. So from where you are taking all these things from your mouth. Okay. So that reaches to your sinuses, that air reaches to your sinuses, and it will get humidify or modify or little bit moisture over there, and then it enters into your throat, then larynx, and then it reaches to your this I can say to your this trachea. Trachea is basically a voice box of a body. Okay, so nose is also called an external nares. Nose is external nares. Why it is? Because it is present outside the body, and at this point, we will able to exchange the gases and everything. Okay, so it is divided into two halves by nasal septum. So your nasal septum is your uh, this, I'm telling you, see, in between the nose, you can see, if you see your whole nose inside the mirror, there is two nostrils. And between the nostrils, there is a ridge or there is a separation. So that separation, which divides your nose into two halves, is your nasal septum. Okay. And they contains the paranasal sinuses. Paranasal means around the nose. Sinuses are present, and what is the function of these sinuses? They warm the air. Okay, contains cilia, which is responsible for filtering out the foreign bodies. Okay, so whatever the foreign bodies are present, they contain cilia, and whatever the foreign bodies are present, they will help you to remove those foreign body outside the. With these help of cilia, they track or trap those, foreign body, and filters the air, and that air moves inside the body. Okay, so again, it is filtering out the foreign bodies with the help of these cilia. Clear till now, guys? So you can see here your external nares will be there in this diagram. Then inferior nasal concha and then middle nasal concha. Above that we have your frontal sinuses. Then we have nasopharynx. Then at the back we have sphenoidal sinuses. So there are four paranasal sinuses present into the human body. Frontal, sphenoidal, and then maxillary sinuses there. And one is, I think so, ethmoidal is there. Okay, so these are the four paranasal sinuses which is present around the nose, and what is their main function? So their main function is to moisten up the air, whatever air, and second thing is it filters that particular air. Okay, so in last class when I'm teaching the skeletal system, at that time I told you ki what is sinuses. So basically sinuses are hollow spaces present into the human body, and they are lined by specific mucous cells which provide or moisten the airs. Okay. Then internal layers open exteriorly, external layers open exteriorly, and mm, internal opens exteriorly, and external layers opens to the pharynx. Okay. So external का when it opens into the pharynx, आपका क्या होगा? एक्सटर्नल एयर को एनवायरमेंट से वो एयर को लेगा और क्या करेगा? बॉडी के अंदर सेंड करेगा। और जो इंटरनल नारिस है वो ओपन की बाहर की साइड ओपन अप होगा, तो वो वॉट एवर द इनसाइड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इज प्रोड्यूस, वो रिलीज करेगा इनटू द एनवायरनमेंट। ओके, So nasal concha folds into the mucous membrane that increases the air turbulence and ensures the most air contacts the mucous membrane, provides the airway for the respiration, moisten and warms the entering air, filters and cleans the inspired air, and resonating the chambers for speech, detects the odor into the air stream. Pharynx is the common space between both respiratory and digestive system. Okay, so this is beyond your tongue. You will find this area. Okay, and this is a commonly called throat. Okay, and originate posterior to the nasal and oral cavity and extended inferior near to the level of bifurcation of larynx and esophagus. So larynx is your windpipe. Okay, windpipe is your larynx and food pipe is your esophagus. Okay, तो जो कॉमन एरिया होगा आपका नेजल कैविटी के पीछे या नेजल पार्ट के बाद एंड क्या कहते हैं कि आपका ओरल कैविटी मीन्स टंग के बियॉन्ड जो कॉमन एरिया है उसके बाद से बाइफरकेट होते हैं इनटू टू पार्ट्स. ओके, so one is your food pipe and another is your windpipe. So larynx is your windpipe and esophagus is your food pipe. Okay. So उनके ऊपर का area and posterior to the oral cavity and nasal cavity is known as your this throat area. Okay. So common pathway for both air and food. But what happens, when we are swallowing, or when we are eating, what happens कि wind pipe जो होता है आपका वो cover up हो जाता है. Otherwise वो cover up नहीं होगा तो what happens कि it might be the possibilities are there कि आपका food जो है वो wind pipe में चला जाए and it will cause blocking, choking or sudden death of the patient. Okay. So wall is lined by the mucus and contains the skeletal muscles and that is primarily used for the swallowing. So whenever we are swallowing anything, what happens at that time? Ki there is a flap, you can say, or there is a thin covering is there that whenever we start eating, what happens? Ki that cover goes and cover up your windpipe as a lid. Okay, and so in order to prevent your this any entry of food into your windpipe. Okay, so the flexible lateral walls are distended in order to force the swallowed food into the esophagus. Okay, so now if I talk about the three sections of your pharynx, the common area I told you, that is your nasopharynx, the area beyond the nose and above the oral pharynx. Okay, so that is your nasopharynx, contain the pharyngeal tonsil that is adenoid and eats into the body immune defense system. So it fights for the defense. Okay. Next is your oropharynx, is a region, back portion of the mouth that contains the palatine tonsils, which aids the uh, body's immune defense system. Again, the palatine tonsils are there and they fight for the body immune defense system. Okay. Next is your laryngopharynx. The bottom section is known as your laryngopharynx. Okay. So that section is where the respiratory tract divided into esophagus and larynx. Okay. And the part I told you, like which part is going to cover to your windpipe, that is known as your epiglottis. Okay. So the larynx is voice box is short, somewhat cylindrical. Airway ends in the trachea. Okay, and it prevents the swallowed material from entering into the lower respiratory tract. Conducts the air into the lower tract of the respiratory and produces the sound. So, from where we are going to get the sound, whatever we are saying, it's like you have done the resonance test into your physics. So, what is that? We just, vibe at the different frequency or different force we applied into that, and they produces with the tuning fork and they produces the sound. Same thing happens with the human body. Different air levels are there, different frequencies are there, And when we utilize this your voice box or larynx, they produces the sound. So whatever we are speaking, just because of this voice box, okay, because of resonance process, okay, and it produces the sound basically. It is supported by the framework of nine pieces of cartilage. So your trachea is made up of your cartilage. It is not made up of your bone. Whenever I was teaching you this skeletal system, I told you that at the back we have a cervical bone, but in front we don't have any bone, except your hyoid and basically hyoid bone is present. Okay, rest we have this your I can say your cartilages are present. Okay, so only hyoid bone is present in the front of your neck. Rest is your cartilages are present. Okay, so and so this trachea is made up of basically nine parts of cartilages and three pairs. Okay, held by ligaments and muscles. Okay, so how they are held into their position? They are held into their positions by ligaments and muscles. Okay, so trachea is a flexible tube called windpipe. It extends through the mediastinum and lies anterior to the esophagus. So it is placed in such a manner that at the posterior part, esophagus is there, and at the anterior part, your windpipe is placed. Like two parallel tubes are running. Okay, so and inferior to the larynx, definitely. Guys, you are not able to hear me up.
I can hear you now. Ma'am, in the first this thing, slide regarding the external nares and internal nares, there seems to be a confusion.
Which one? External layers and internal layers. This you can see this photograph. Will you able to see this photograph? Am I audible to you people?
Yeah, we can see this. We can see the photograph.
Photograph.
Mm.
Okay, when you see the nose, in general, you are seeing your nose. Okay, so
Mm.
nose above the lips is that part is your external nares. The
Mm.
above the lips there is opening. You can see in this part that is your external nares. Okay, this is your external nares, and at the back of that, where your nasopharynx above the nasopharynx there is an opening or tube-like structure is present. That is your internal nares. Clear?
Got it.
Got it? So what happens at external air is what we are doing? We are taking the air from external environment. Internal air is what we are going to do? We are going to take, inside air. We are going to place this into the outside environment through this opening. From here, it goes to upper region, and then it reaches to your nostril, and from that nostril, you are going to release that air. Okay. So this is your internal and external air. Clear? Now it's clear, guys. It's clear, guys, or not?
Please continue, ma'am. Please continue.
Oh, okay, okay. Anything else? You have any doubts related to earlier slides? You can ask. Okay. So, so flexible cube, I told you that is your windpipe and extended through your mediastinum. Mediastinum is, I told you, wait a minute. I was on this slide. Okay. So I was telling you ki, these cartilages, they were supported by your different types of ligaments and muscles. Okay, so you can see कि trachea ring-like structure is present at the base, and above that you can see your cricoid cartilage is there. Then cricoid muscle is and ligament is holding this cartilage. Above that we have thyroid cartilage. Above the thyroid cartilage, we have thyroid membrane, and above that, we have hyoid bone. And in center, we have epiglottis. So whenever the food enters into that, this lid, whenever we are eating, this lid comes and covers your windpipe. So epiglottis is mainly your covering or lid-like structure which covers the windpipe whenever we are swallowing, okay, or eating anything. So in order to prevent any entry of food material into your windpipe or respiratory tract. Okay, so now coming to your trachea. Trachea is a flexible tube and also called your windpipe. It extended through your medial sternum and lies anterior to your esophagus. Okay, so medial sternum से extend होगा ये आपका. Medial sternum is mid of the sternum. Okay, एंड ये आपको नीचे मूव करता है. एनाटॉमी में आई टोल्ड यू मीडिया sternum is a bone. I remember कि sternum is a bone which is present at the center of your this neckline when I am talking about, and from that is bone we have a lot of rib. In case of rib cage, every bone is coming and join at that particular part of sternum. So body of sternum where all rib cages or rib bones are going and getting to a place over there or going to stay over there, seven bones. Okay. And above that sternum, we have a body or head structure. So from there, it lies anterior to the esophagus and inferior to the larynx. So from there, this trachea extends and reaches to a part where it divided into two parts. Okay, so trachea extends from there. Larynx, you can see in this photograph, below the larynx means down. Okay, so down to your larynx, this trachea is there, and from the medial sternum level, and it goes down, and at the end it will divide it. Okay, so this trachea is divided into the right and left primary bronchi. Okay, and then your lungs will start from there. Okay, so the cartilaginous rings reinforce and provide the rigidity to the tracheal wall and ensures the trachea remains open all time. If we are sleeping, if we are eating, whatever things we are doing, this trachea is always open and doing or performing their function. Okay, and at the level of sternal angle means ki I told you at the level of head. So when it reaches to the head level and there is it joins to the body, that is known as your sternal angle, and there it will divide it into two parts. Okay, that is your right and left bronchi. Okay, so it reaches to the primary bronchus and projected laterally towards the each. Okay, so laterally means side by side it reaches to the both. You can see through this photograph. Okay, the bronchi is primarily divided into each lungs. Okay, so each lung has a conical shape. You can see into this photograph, there is a cone like you have wear a birthday cap, na? So in same way, you can see this. See, it is like conical shape. Okay. At the base, it has, a little bit spherical or more surface area. At the top, it has pointed apex. Okay. So each lung has conical shape. It has a wide concave base resting on upon the muscle diaphragm. Wait a minute, I'll show you. In this photograph, you can see how the base is round and conical and head is pointed and tapered apex. Okay, and they are resting on diaphragm. So you can see in this photograph, the base is resting upon a diaphragm. Okay, so whenever we are, inspire taking air and releasing air, we can see up and down movement of chest. Why this happens? So this is the movement of diaphragm which we see and measure how many times this up and down chest movement is going on the basis of that we will take कि per minute में patient is taking this much of breaths. When we are taking the breath per minute, how much the patient is taking. So by the up and down movement of chest only we are going to observe. Okay. So it is superior region is called apex projected superior. Superior means upper part. Okay. So to the pointed and slightly superior and posterior to the clavicle. Clavicle is your beauty bone. तो ब्यूटी बोन के पास इसका एपेक्स लंग्स का आपका नियर बाय पोस्टीरियर रीजन आप थोड़ा सा उसका ऑब्जर्व करेंगे तो वहां पे आपका लंग्स का हेड रीजन होता है. ओके. एंड बोथ लंग्स आर बॉर्डर्ड बाय thoracic wall anteriorly, laterally, posteriorly and supported by rib cage. तो ये आपका जो है लंग्स किस में प्रिजर्व्ड और सेफ रखा जाता है? दे आर kept into your rib cage and they are lined by thoracic walls, okay, anteriorly, posteriorly and laterally. Towards the midline, lungs are separated from each other by mediasternum. So in between ये कैसे separate होते हैं? Mediasternum से. And relative broad round surface in the contact with the thoracic wall and called the costal surface of the lung. So costal surface as name indicate जो आपका border margin है उसको हम costal surface कहते हैं. So lung is, if I talk about left lung and right lung, again these lungs are divided into different lobes. Okay. So left lung is divided into two lobes. And how they are divided into two lobes? So you can see at the base there is one division or fissure that is known as your oblique fissure. So oblique fissure आपका left lung को divide करता है. Okay. The smaller than right lung होता है. Okay. And cardiac notch accommodates the heart. And there is one, you can see in between the both lungs, there is a space, heart-shaped space is there where your heart is placed. That is your, a space between the both lungs. There is space where your heart is placed, and you can see where it is going to divide. Here you can see one small notch. Okay, one small notch on left side. In medial side means inside you can see that is known as your cardiac notch. Okay, so cardiac notch is there for the accommodation of heart. Okay, clear? And your right lung is divided into three lobes by oblique and horizontal. Oblique is from center it is running, and horizontal fissure. Horizontal is in the center, okay, and oblique is from bottom line, okay. So oblique fissure is present in both of the cases. You can see from the base there is one line going upward. That is your oblique fissure, and horizontal is present only in this right lungs, okay. So and it is present above the liver, okay. So located more superiorly due to liver on right side. So right side का lung थोड़ा सा ऊपर होता है as compared to left side. Why? It is because of location of liver on the right side. Okay. Pleura is the outer covering of each lungs. Okay. And adjacent to the internal thoracic wall lining by the serous membrane called pleura. So pleura जो है वो आपका प्लूरल मेम्ब्रेन जो होता है वो आउटर कवरिंग ऑफ द लंग्स होता है, एंड बिटवीन दीज मेम्ब्रेन वी हैव fluid that is known as your pleura fluid. Okay, so the outside surface of each lung is tightly covered by visceral pleura. So outside आपका जो lung का outer surface होता है वो किससे tightly covered होता है? आपका visceral pleura से. Okay, while the internal thoracic wall or the lateral surfaces are covered with the mediasternum, superior surface of the diaphragm, and lined by the parietal pleura. Okay, you can come to this diagram. You can see ki lungs is there, the red color lungs are there. Okay, you can see a lining on the left side from the base. That is your oblique fissure. Again, on right side from the base, one lining is there. That is your oblique fissure, and from the center region, then there is one fissure is going on. That is your horizontal fissure. Okay, so this is how we divide your lungs. Okay, now you can see on the both side there is a blue covering. That blue covering is your pleura. Clear? The blue covering is your pleura. So the membrane, the fluid is called pleural fluid, and the membrane which covers is your pleural membrane. Clear? So the parietal and visceral pleura layers are continuous as the hilus of each lungs. Okay. So now coming to the pleural cavity, the potential between the serous membrane is called pleural cavity. So the space, the hollow space between the pleural membrane and the lungs is your space is uh, called as cavity, pleural cavity, and the pleural membrane produces a thin serous pleural fluid that circulates into this pleural cavity. सो जो आपका स्पेस है जो बिटवीन द मेम्ब्रेन एंड बिटवीन द लंग, that is known as your pleural cavity, and the membrane produces that fluid which flows into this cavity. Pleural cavity is your pleural fluid. What is the function of your pleural fluid? फॉर एग्जाम्पल कंटिन्यूस आपका रेस्पिरेशन कर रहे हैं तो आपका जो लंग्स है वो जब एयर जा रहा है तो वो बलून की तरह ब्लोन अप हो रहा है, बट जब एयर रिलीज कर रहा है तो वो वापस से श्रिंक हो रहा है, फिर एयर जा रहा है तो वो ब्लोन अप हो रहा है लाइक अ बलून, फिर एयर रिलीज हो रहा है तो वो श्रिंक हो रहा है। तो कंटिन्यूस प्रोसेस में क्या होगा आपका कि हीट जनरेट होगा। तो ये जो मेम्ब्रेन के अंदर जो फ्लूइड होता है ना, प्लूरल फ्लूइड, इसका मेन फंक्शन क्या होता है कि एक्ट्स एज अ लुब्रिकेंट। एंड व्हाट इज द फंक्शन ऑफ लुब्रिकेंट? जो भी एक्सेस हीट जनरेट होता है उसको ऑब्जर्व करता है। मिनिमल फ्रिक्शन मीन्स हाउ द हीट विल जनरेटेड बिकॉज ऑफ कंटिन्यूस फ्रिक्शन। तो जहां पे भी आप फिजिक्स में यू हैव स्टडीड कि जहां पे भी फ्रिक्शन जनरेट हो रहा है या ज्यादा हीट प्रोड्यूस होता है, हम क्या करते हैं कि एक थिन लाइनिंग ऑफ बॉडी या लुब्रिकेंट डाल देते हैं। तो सेम थिंग हैपेंस इनटू योर चेस्ट और इनटू योर लंग्स कि कंटिन्यूस अप एंड डाउन मूवमेंट होता है जिसकी वजह से फ्रिक्शन जनरेट होता है in order to reduce the loss or proper functionality. The god has gifted with lubrication, and that pleural fluid is acting as your lubrication. Okay, so minimal friction को वो करता है, ठीक है, during the breathing mechanism. Okay, and if too much of fluid is there or too much of fluid is produced due to XYZ disease condition, that is known as a pleural effusion. Okay, so pleuritis with too much of fluid. Itis is something that is related to your infection. जैसे pneumonia हो गया कि severe conditions में, disease conditions में you will able to see your pleural effusion. काफी cases में होता है respiratory disease condition में. So there is, yeah, in that condition, what happens? Ki too much of fluid is produced into that membrane. Okay. So this is your again a photograph where your right and left lobes are resting on your diaphragm, and then we how this happens कि आपका right and left ब्रोंकाई जो होता है वो फर्दर डिवाइड होगा ब्रोंक्यूल्स में, एंड एट द एंड ऑफ दीज ब्रोंक्यूल्स मीन्स आप लंग्स के अंदर देखेंगे तो व्हाट हैपेंस कि ये ट्री लाइक स्ट्रक्चर देखेगा। तो एट द एंड व्हाट होता है कि आपका देयर इज लीव लाइक स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड एट द एंड वी हैव अ फ्रूट। सो that is at the terminals we have alveoli, and alveoli resembles as grapes. Okay, and what is the function of these alveoli? All exchanges of carbon dioxide and oxygens are taking place at this alveoli because they are covered with capillaries, blood capillaries. So totally covered by blood capillaries, and how this exchange mechanism happens. So now we are going to study how this lung works. Okay, तो एयर एंटर हुआ आपका नेजल कैविटी से, एक्सटर्नल एयर नेजल कैविटी से आपने एयर लिया, वो एयर रीच करता है पैरानेजल साइनसेस में, वहां पे वो एयर मॉइस्चन अप होता है, मॉइस्चन अप होने के बाद इट रीचेस टू योर this larynx pharynx region. From there it enters into your windpipe or your trachea region. From there it comes and reaches to your bronchia, ब्रोंकाई, ब्रोंकाई से वो ब्रोंक्यूल्स में जाता है, and this bronchioles end up into the alveoli. I told you earlier, and alveoli is covered with, entangled with, चारों तरफ से meshy network of capillaries are present, and they take the fresh oxygen from this alveoli, and it releases the carbon dioxide at this place. It happens, you can see in this photograph. Or wait a minute, I have one better photographs also. Wait a minute, I'll share one better photograph. You can see there is all sinuses mentioned over here. Your frontal, ethmoidal, sphenoidal, and maxillary sinuses, four paranasal sinuses I told you, is mentioned in this PPT. Next is your I will show you this. Here you can see how your alveoli, this is the end of your, bronchioles are ending at your, this alveoli. This is how it looks like. PPT is visible on your screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you can see each bulb of your alveoli, each part of your alveoli is covered with a meshy network of capillaries, the blue color and the red color. Okay. So as it indicates, the red color indicates the highly oxygen rich blood, and your blue color indicates, where you can see a low oxygen level in your blue color, as usually what we code for, medical. Red we represent highly rich oxygen carrying capacity, and blue indicates rich in carbon dioxide. So you can see at this level the exchange is going on between your alveoli tissue and between your capillaries. So what happens at this level? They releases your oxygen. They takes the oxygen from air and releases the carbon dioxide. So this meshy capillary network is for gaseous exchange between the alveoli and the blood. So this is how the exchange is taking place. Clear? This is your microscopic picture, ultra microscopic picture I can see. Okay, and I already told you that alveoli represent or seems to be like a grape, like a bunch of grapes. It seems to be like, but covered with your mesh networks. Okay, so and here we have, white blood cells, which is basically known for your macrophages. Okay. So always present into the inner surface where they ingest or destroy the airborne irritant. Wherever they are present, such as bacteria, chemicals, dust. If we are taking air from external environment, they contain this. Usually, cilias are there to, capture the whatever the foreign body is entering into the body, into the sinuses, but still, if something missed there, then we have macrophages process, means your white blood cells play important role and they do all these processes over here only. Okay. So carbon dioxide diffusion and how the exchange of your gases take place. So it will take place through diffusion process. Okay, into the alveoli, and there are more than 300 million alveoli in both lungs, providing a huge surface area. Okay, so 300 millions means there is a huge surface area, and exchanges going on 40 times greater than the body's outer surface area. Now you can imagine कि आपका जो भी बॉडी का आउटर सरफेस एरिया है उसका 40 टाइम्स ज्यादा सरफेस एरिया ये स्मॉल एल्वेलाइज प्रोवाइड करते हैं. ओके, क्लियर? Alveoli are usually 0.2 mm, means 1 by 25th across, fully inflated. Okay, and they should collapse inward like deflated balloon. I explained you see how your lungs work. Like for example, you can take your compare your whole lung as a balloon. When air is there, it will be blown up, and like a huge same thing happens with your alveoli. कि when air is there, it will be blown up balloon, but when you releases the air, it will be like deflated. So just because of that, there is this what happens. See, there is up and down movement we will see. Okay, and in order to reduce the friction or something, a surface tension, so there is a fluid lining. I already explained you. Okay, so collapse is prevented by natural surfactant or substance with detergent-like properties and called surfactants. So surfactants are present into your alveoli and they produces or decreases the collapse of this alveoli. Okay, so these are the basic things which you need to know. Okay, just have just see this picture. With surfactant they will be like fully inflated like substance. Without surfactant they will be more like if surfactant is not there, the forces or collapse alveoli will be more like a diffuse figure you can see. Okay, No. So this is how your things will be taking place, and from this now the capillaries has taken the air and releases the carbon dioxide. It will move to the opposite direction. Means कि आपका जो deoxygenated blood है या deoxygenated जो air है वो opposite direction में travel करता है, and जो oxygenated है वो opposite direction में they travels. Okay, and this way they brings the body oxygen that you needed to live and get the rid of waste product carbon dioxide, and this is how the exchange is taking place, and we are removing the carbon dioxide from the body. Okay, so lung is sealed into the pleural membrane inside the chest cavity. At the bottom of the cavity is a large flat muscle known as diaphragm. Okay, so during the inhalation, whenever we are inhaling the air, what happens? Your diaphragm contracts and rib cage rising up. I told you कि diaphragm आपका क्या होगा? Contract हो जाएगा, मीन्स ऐसे हो जाएगा, और आपका क्या कहते हैं कि आपका चेस्ट क्या होगा कि फ्लेयर अप होके ऊपर की तरफ आता है. बट व्हेन यू रिलीजेस द एयर, डायफ्राम जो है वो रिलैक्स हो जाएगा, एंड व्हाट हैपेंस, द चेस्ट मूव्स डाउनवर्ड. ओके, so this why this happens because of expansion into the volume inside the chest cavity. Okay, so this expands the volume of the chest cavity. Chest cavity is sealed, so increase the partial vacuum inside the cavity. How this air movement from outside to inside environment happens. तो आपने पूछा, you have studied जो physics में आपने सुना होगा कि difference into internal and external environment causes the movement of the particles. So that same thing we used to create. Okay, so हम partial pressure को increase करते हैं, and atmospheric pressure जब internal से manage होता है, तभी आपका जो atmospheric air होता है वो lungs के अंदर राशन होता है. Okay, so vacuum create करते हैं. Once we created the vacuum, what happens? The atmospheric pressure fills the lungs as rushes into the breathing passage. So this is how your this breathing mechanism happens. Okay, um, often exhaling is a passive event. Okay, वो active event होता है inhalation, but exhalation is a passive event. And what happens in this? Your rib is lower down, I already told you, and your diaphragm muscles get relaxed. Okay, and the pressure in the chest cavity is greater than the atmospheric pressure. जब एयर इनसाइड आएगा तब आपका क्या होगा कि जो लंग्स कैविटी होता है वो वैक्यूम क्रिएट कर देगा. वैक्यूम मीन्स कि कोई प्रेशर ही नहीं होगा, तभी आपका वो एयर जो है वो ज्यादा प्रेशर बाहर फील कर रहा है तो वो इनसाइड द चेस्ट मूव करेगा. ओके, एंड जब हम रिलीज करेंगे तब क्या होगा कि हमारे चेस्ट के अंदर हमारे जो लंग्स है उनके अंदर एटमॉस्फेरिक प्रेशर से ज्यादा प्रेशर होगा, तभी हम उसको एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट में रिलीज कर पाते हैं. ओके, so when the pressure inside your lungs is greater than the external environment, then only we will able to push the air from lungs to outside environment. Clear? So with this, we have completed this your breathing mechanism or respiratory system. Any doubt, any queries related to this? Any doubts, any queries related to your respiratory system, guys?
It's okay, ma'am.
Yes, tell Roshan.
Oh, I said it's okay, like quite clear.
Okay, okay, quite clear. Okay. Now we will start with, I'll just give, because we are running out of time. So I will just, give a quick overview of your digestive system. Okay. Wait for 2 minutes. So digestive system is basically what? It is a system where whatever we eat, we just utilize that thing for, the body can use that product into different ways. Okay. So the people are morely aware that the digestive system than other system, not least because it's a frequent messages. Okay. So why we are more aware? Because it is, your day-to-day processor, and you eat and you do a lot of things. Okay, that is your actively we are doing that process. That's why people are little bit aware of things. When we take a food, then we place into the mouth. What happens when the teeth, they bite, they grind the food, and then they cut into the small pieces. Then they grind the food. They create the food into the form of bolus. Then we swallow that food. So if I talk about in general, everyone, basically knows something related to your digestive system. Why? Because of hunger, thirst, appetite, gas, and the frequent and nature bowel movement. आपको कई बार you will not able to pass your fecal matter, so you face different issues. That's why everyone is aware. But if I talk about respiratory or other systems, blood or something, I talk about lymphatic, skeletal, people are less aware in general. Okay. So digestive, there is, I called it as digestive tract is there. And then in that digestive tract, means tract is a pathway. Okay. Start from your oral cavity, uh, from your external lips, I can say. From there it started and ends at your anal canal. Okay. So what is the basic functions your digestive system do? So ingestion, then mechanical processing, digestion, secretion, absorption, and excretion. These are the basic six, functions of your digestive system. Basically, does. Okay. So ingestion is what whenever the food we are taking, the material that enters, the process of entering that food into the tract. Okay. Mechanical processing means crushing, shearing, and making the material more easier to move into the digestive tract. Digestion is a chemical breakdown of food into the small organic fragments and absorption by the digestive epithelium. Secretion is release of water, acid, enzymes, buffers, and salts by the epithelium and the digestive tract by glandular organs. Absorption is again whatever we secrete किया आपने gastric juices secrete किया, bile juices secrete किया, different types के salt secrete किया, acid secrete किया. Okay. And once you why you are secreting all these things in order to fragment that food, or in order to break down the different types of carbohydrate, proteins, and different types of material present into the food. So once you break down that food, what happens? They will be, easily into the small particles. Now body will absorb them because they are earlier into the macromolecule. It is not suitable for the body to absorb. If it is suitable for the body to absorb, they will directly absorb. But it is not. That's why we break down by, by the release of different types of chemical substances into the body. Okay. Once they break down and it will be converted into the absorbable form, they absorb. Okay, so the movement of organic material, substance, electrolytes, vitamins, and water across the digestive epithelium into the intestinal fluids and digestive tract. Excretion means the removal of waste products from the body fluid, and process is called defecation, and removal of the feces will happen. Okay, an introduction to the digestive system now comes. If I talk about, so digestive tract is also known as gastrointestinal tract. Gastrointestine is there, and then whole tract or alimentary canal is there. And a muscular tubule is there. It extends from your mouth to, I told you, towards your anus. Okay. Passes through pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small and large intestine. So this is whole, you can see this is your from mouth to your esophagus, Esophagus. In this photograph, you can see the two tubules. The anterior is your windpipe and the posterior is your foot pipe. Okay. And there at the, below clavicle to lower region, you can see where the sternum starts. You can see the faded rings. That is your trachea. Okay. So in this photograph, you can easily see. It will, beyond the, we have esophagus, it reaches to the stomach from this, the zebra means like light brown and dark brown pattern is there. That is your liver. And opposite to the liver, we have the stomach placed over there. Okay. So at this end of the stomach, we have large intestine, large intestine, small intestine is there. And at the end, we have this, your anus is there through which we are going to defecate the food material, and in between the green color substance that is known as your gallbladder. Okay. So the digestive system is the one of the most clearly defined in the body. It is consists of long pathway, the digestive tract, and associated glands. These include the liver, pancreas, which is connected to the main tract by the duct or tubules, emptying their products such as enzymes into the tract. Okay. Other than this, we have other glands. If I talk about is your salivary glands also. Okay. So what is the function of these salivary glands? They provide the saliva, and saliva mixed with the food and makes the bolus. Okay. So this is your oral cavity. Then we have pharynx. Then we have esophagus. Then we have stomach, small intestine, large intestine, and your alimentary canal. Okay. So at opposite side we have liver, and pancreas is also placed over there, and gallbladder. Okay. So the major organs of your digestive tract is your oral cavity. Oral cavity is composed of your teeth, tongue, and a palate, hard palate, soft palate. So this is your part of your oral cavity. That includes the teeth, tongue, and different types of glands. Okay. And then we have pharynx. That is, the pharynx. If I talk about the muscular propulsion material into the esophagus. So it will movement of your bolus into the esophagus will take place. Then esophagus transport the material to the stomach. Stomach is the chemical breakdown of materials by acid enzymes and mechanical process to the muscular contraction. Small intestine is enzymatic digestion, absorption of different types of water and organic substance. Vitamins and ions will take place. Large intestine may dehydration and compaction of indigestion material in preparation for elimination will take place. So this is in general your digestive tract is all about. Okay. Now, I told you like, the glands related to or accessory organs means associated or additional organs to the digestive tract, to your teeth. That is why it is important for the mechanical processing of food. I told you like chewing, grinding. उस purpose से आपका mastication whole process is known as mastication. So उस process से tongue is आपका जो है sensory में आता है assist the mechanical process with teeth. Teeth के साथ ये mechanical process को assist करता है. Okay. Liver क्या करेगा आपका कि secretion of bile is important for lipid digestion. Storage of nutrition and everything will take place. Salivary glands, I told you, in oral cavity they are present. Basically, they release the saliva, and they start the breakdown of your carbohydrate. Okay. फूड को मिक्स करके बोलस भी बनाएगा, मॉइस्चन अप करके बोलस, एंड देन दे ब्रेक डाउन द कार्बोहाइड्रेट. ओके. तो कार्बोहाइड्रेट का ब्रेक डाउन स्टार्ट हो जाएगा. गॉल ब्लैडर स्टोरेज एंड कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ बाइल करेगा. पेनक्रियास endocrine cells secretes the buffer and digestive system, and endocrine cells secretes the hormone also. So this is your general and different views of, like frontal view. Then we have a lateral view from left and right side of the digestive tract. Okay. And posterior view is also presented to these photographs. So all four views are digestive tracts are present. Okay, so your intestine is 22 feet long, and the total surface area would be almost 3,000 square feet, and the size of a tennis court it is. So you can imagine the size of tennis court is placed into a small intestine. Okay, so There is a good reason for its size, why we need such huge area. So, digestive system is a vital system for the survival after the respiratory. Our nutrients, whatever we are feeding, the nutrition we are feeding, is we have to absorb that. So, for the absorption and for the digestion, we need a huge area. And they also play an important role into the defense system, and our elimination route of the waste is also, whatever the waste produces into the body secretion, majorly हम इसी route से street out करते हैं. So the process, location for the different vital biochemical process will be taking place. That's why we needed a huge area. Okay. So oral cavity uh, is the sensory analysis. Sensory analysis means कि खट्टा है, food मीठा है, your taste bud, they are basically present on your this tongue. Okay, so bitter hai, sweet hai. Okay, so and when you smell that food or you eat that food, so what happens? The saliva secretion starts, and through that secretion, you start chewing the food and processing the food. Then, your saliva is basically for lubrication. So once that saliva mix with, food and form the bolus, and then once started, then there is enzymes are present into that, and they start the breakdown. Amylase enzyme is present into your saliva basically, and this starts the breakdown of your carbohydrates and lipids. Okay, so what all are, if I talk about glands present into salivary gland present into the oral cavity, so parotid glands as it is present near your ear. Otid means otis is your ear. Otitis, otis is your ear. Okay. And para means around. So parotid near the this otis region is your parotid. So this gland is around the ears. Okay. Then sublingual, as name indicates, below the linguals. Okay. So below the tongue it is. Okay. Submandibular, it is present into the or near the mandible of your lower jawbone. That is your submandibular glands. Okay. So these are the basically different uh, this salivary glands present into your oral cavity, and they had different openings, and and they are bounded with teeth, hard palate, and soft palate. And they opens into the different, their ducts are open into the different region of your oral cavity and secretes the saliva. What is the function of these saliva? They moisten up the oral cavity. They provides the lubrication whenever we are speaking, at tongue movement, everything. Why it is easy? Because of saliva. Okay, then it represents the different conditions of the body also. For example, if you are hungry or if you see or smell different tasty food, excessive salivation is there. Uh, so these are the different important things related to that. So and there is where the teeth tongues works and with the salivary gland and break down the food into the small masses, and that can be swallowed and prepared from the journey through the alimentary canal. So what happens ki you can easily swallow up, and you can what you can do is you can through once you swallow up, what happens? You hit the palate. When you make the bolus, you hit the palate through the tongue. So what happens is that bolus hit the palate, hard palate, and reaches to the posterior part of your oral cavity. Okay. And once it reaches to the posterior part of your oral cavity, what happens? The chemical digestion will start, the mechanical process, and saliva is 99% of water, not only moisten the food but cleanses the mouth also. I told you कि आपका जो oral cavity में lubrication है या self cleansing mechanism है, वो why this happens? Just because of the uh, uh, saliva. Okay, and there was the food chemicals, so they can be tasted and contains enzymes, so they can start the breakdown of starchy food. Starchy food means जो carbohydrate का breakdown start हो जाता है, so amylase enzyme. Okay. So there are three pairs of salivary gland, your parotid, sublingual, and submandibulary, also called submaxillary glands. Okay. So with this, I'm going to stop your digestive system over here. We will continue in next class. Okay.